So, picture this. You get a call from a client saying that you have a shoot the next day, sent you an address, you've not been to a location. Somehow, he gets you to agree and you decide to go and roll with the punches. So in your kit, you need your camera, obviously, lights, obviously, but when it comes to lens, because you do not know the location you're dealing with, you don't know there's a tight space or a wide space. As a result, you're thinking about something versatile. So even when you try to rent, that's the leading thought on your mind. So the problem of versatility is what we'll be addressing in this video. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Daniel. If you're new here, I say welcome to you. Last week was quite interesting, whereby we delved into a separate subject matter. Now we are back to our bread and butter. So on today's menu, we'll be looking at the Canon 24-105 L/IS USM-Z lens. So this lens was released back in 2023, whereby it was part of the Canon RF lineup that is supposed to cover a wide focal range from the 24N to the 105N that actually houses a whole lot within it. Pertaining to its build, the lens is built very well with metal and also some plastic. It also has weather sealing that makes it a lot more weather protected from the weather elements. And based on that, there are certain things that comes with it, which is, for example, the lens actually does not protrude or extrude out when you try and zoom it, because the elements actually zooms internally. So you do not have that kind of protrusion that usually happens with other lenses when you actually have to like zoom and they actually telephoto out. And this actually presents a real plus and real field of work, whereby those people who actually works with gimbal and you're required to change the focal length, it doesn't actually affect your balance that much when you switch from your 24, which is your wide end or your medium wide end, to the telephoto end, which is around the 185, 100, 105 millimeter that the lens extends to. So because of that, it's quite quick and light, and you can actually get into the usage of its dynamism very well. The lens actually weighs only 1.4 kilograms, which means it's not as heavy as the Cine counterpart that's actually 2.5 kilograms. Some lenses range from 1.5 to 2.5 kilograms. So it's kind of built in that world whereby it's not too heavy and it's also not too light that you can actually dismiss it. So apart from that, available on the lens are certain things that are very instrumental to everyday use. So we have like the aperture ring that you see that actually goes from autofocus to manual focus. We have the stabilization off and on switch that is there, whereby you can actually change your stabilization modes. We have several stabilization modes, stabilization 1 through 3. 1 is for the regular one, whereby you're shooting like a regular handheld. 2 is for spot modes for photographers that's trying to like get like the X-axis, which is from left to right, and the Y-axis, which is from up to down. Very good for capturing stabilization shot. And sometimes that stabilization also work with the camera internal stabilization. If you use the camera internal stabilization to be able to like balance, give you like a steady image you get. So other than that, you also have like I'll call like a focus strobe mode, whereby you can set the lens to full, or you can limit the lens to its minimum focal distance of from 1 meter to infinity. And I do not know why you would use that, but there's that. But more interestingly, the lens also has declicked aperture rings, from the alphabet A for auto if you're using auto exposure and allowing the camera to do your exposure settings, all the way up to f22. And the lens also have 2 extra customizable rings. One is at the front, whereby you could actually customize this ring and put probably your aperture here to control it, or your white balance. But this ring can be customized to any data, or even your ISO, you can customize it to like whatever you want. And you also have a focus ring, right? The zoom throw is not cinematic because it's quite a short throw from your 24-105, but it's actually interesting because quickly you can like do those crash whip pan zooms that you could do without actually having to worry about what lens would present. So speaking of the general image quality of the lens is primarily a very sharp lens from edge to edge. From the f2.8, where it's wide open, which is the widest aperture that the lens provides, up to about f8 across most of all the focal lengths from 24-105. From f11 to f22, due to diffraction that usually happens in the lens, you usually see some image quality loss that actually happens with the lens in terms of it becomes soft, whereby even f22 has a softer image than f11 that happens along the range. The lens is actually parafocal, which means whatever you focus on your wide end, by the time you crash in and zoom into it, it stays focused and also stays sharp. That is quite a useful ability when you're trying to change focal length, but actually preserve the focus of your subject. Where the value proposition comes, it's a little bit pricey. I will not say it's a little bit pricey because our own economic situations are relative. So it's quite pricey. But for what you get, the value you get for it is that you get the value of 5 lenses in one, from the 24 to your 35 to your 50 to your 85 and to your 100mm. So you have like 5 lenses that are meshed into one, which is actually a great steal for those that are in documentary, not having to put multiple focal lengths into their kits when they travel. They could travel light just with, like I say, one lens that may rule them all. Maybe there might be another super lens that could come in this compact or format due to technology design, but for now, this is the one that houses 5 focal lengths just in one. And people who could actually find this very versatile, people who actually works in fast-paced events that actually need to like change focal lengths, and reality TV actually would benefit from that space. Documentary would benefit from that space. People in content creation and events would benefit from that space. Now, if you pair this lens here with the newly Canon announced C50 that has a very tiny body, and you go on the gimbal configuration, which is smaller than the C80, and also technically has a smaller dimension than the R5C, right? You get an interesting combo because that camera form factor weighs less, and on a running RS3 Pro, having 5 lenses in one, being able to move, having a great battery life, no overheating, having the capability to record RAW, you could see how that could be a better value proposition for most of creators that are just coming through the entry ladder, from like your wedding photographers to your vloggers to the YouTubers to the micro budget filmmakers to the indies to a lot of the content creators that exist in that spectrum, because the RAW in that camera would have you give you the capability to do high-end cinema work, because you have the ability to be able to capture that, but in that small compact factor that can exist and sleep all day in your gimbal. The Z in this lens, that's in the name of this lens, is because it's also made for photo and actually video shooters. So it's actually a hybrid lens meant for both worlds. Hence, you can see the added features like a declicked aperture that is usually only native to cinema lenses, and not like adjusting your aperture based on the internal on the lens. There are other lens lines that are also part of the hybrid primes that are faster than that, but I personally do not succumb to much faster lens because I'm not in the stills world, because in cinema world I'm trying to show you my composition, my frame, my scene. So going for 1.2 just to have that shallow depth of field whereby you only keep the eye in focus, I'm like, what happens to the rest of the location you paid for that you're supposed to, I don't know, have your audience enjoy that composition, like looking at the frame and not just one thing holds your eyes. There are several things that you could arrange in a way in your storytelling that could actually improve the dynamics of your storytelling. So in that sense, it becomes more value than the sum of its worth. Yes, it looks like a hefty investment, but if you combine investing in 5 primes, you'll find that there's more value in having this in your kit, paired with something like that either the R5C or the C50 itself in that small form factor. The R5C is a little bit tricky because of the whole battery issue. I know there's a new battery that actually circumvents that, but in the C50 you may not have to deal with any of that. You have way more things than you may need, because the C50 also records open gate 7K, also have most of the codecs that are available on the C80 available on it, with the dual card slots and all the other glorious things that actually makes it super amazing. But that aside, this is the 24 to 105. Try it out when you have your hands on it. You could stop by and see how you could actually try this out, and we'll be glad to like get you wet in this whole world of lensing. But it has so much incredible value that it's a no-brainer not to actually have something like this around you too, for the sake of convenience and versatility. So until next time when I see you, get to shoot something, improvise, adapt, and overcome. Thank you.